Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Monday, April 1st, 2024. April Fool's Day, as it's so often called. And, just yesterday we were talking about what they did with Rashee Rice in the NFL. And I mentioned in that video, you know, hopefully nothing worse comes out of this story. Because as we know, so often young football players end up dead in the offseason. Seems to happen every year at this time, right around the time that the new NFL draft is coming. It's like getting rid of an old guy to make space for a new guy. And then, boom, here we are the next day, and it's Vontae Davis, the younger brother of Vernon Davis, two NFL stars, found dead at 35. And, of course, him and his brother have strong Washington, D.C. connections. His brother went to Maryland, big star in the world, playing in women's college basketball for Maryland. Vontae Davis is dead at 35. It's 35 days from Angel Reese's upcoming birthday. We're going to talk more about it. It's a lot like what happened to Rashee Rice yesterday. Also in the news, Israel bombs Syria and Damascus. And the bombing of Damascus one day after Easter should make everyone stop and pause who's familiar with the Bible. Paul, a.k.a. Saul in the Bible, is on the road to Damascus, doubting Jesus' existence, that he's the true Messiah, when he's blinded by Jesus, beginning his conversion to Christianity. And that's after Jesus' resurrection. So after Jesus' resurrection, Saul, a.k.a. Paul, is converted to Christianity. Yesterday was Easter, the day to remember Jesus' resurrection from the tomb. And now the bombing of Damascus the very next day. In the Bible, it's Acts 9:1 in the New Testament, where the story begins of the conversion of Saul or Paul. And today, April Fool's Day is typically the 91st day of the year, like 9/1. Also funny, today has 49 date numerology, and Jeremiah 49 also talks about the destruction in Damascus, as does Isaiah. And then with regards to having 49 date numerology and it going with Jeremiah 49, in Catholic Bibles, Acts is the 49th book of the Bible. The road to Damascus, the conversion. So, that's what I explain all the time, how these psychopaths that really do run our news and, our banks and our governments, they use the Bible like a playbook and they mock humanity. It's a mockery every day. And we're going to talk about how that mockery is also in the clearly in the death of Vontae Davis. Again, this stuff is biblical that they do over and over, over and over. We're also going to talk about what's funny about this happening the day of Israel's largest protest against Netanyahu. So, on one hand, you're having the biggest protest against Netanyahu's government. And then on the other hand, Netanyahu's government is bombing Damascus. Also, apparently, two survivors of the Tulsa race riots are both 109 years old right now and awaiting reparations. So, we're going to talk more about this story being in the news on April Fool's Day. I mean, is that not a miracle in itself? How many towns have people that live to be age 109? Two from the Tulsa race riots. Also, I just want to retouch on this. We went over this over the weekend. The Key Bridge collapsed by the numbers. And then the lead investigator for the Oklahoma City bombing being one of the main people that CNN went to after it collapsed to explain the accident. And then, boom, a ship is hitting a bridge in Oklahoma. I'm going to talk more about this if you missed what I talked about over the weekend. And again, in case you missed the coverage of the Chance Perdomo death, we'll recover that. And in case you missed the Rashee Rice story, we'll quickly cover that. But yeah, let's start with Vontae Davis and just make our way through. So him and his brother, again, both big stars in the NFL. And it's funny because just recently I was ranting about how one of the most obvious rigged moments I've seen in NFL history in the last decade was with his bigger brother, Vernon Davis, who obviously knew that he was supposed to get down to a certain hash mark. So slowed way down and looked backwards and waited for the defense to catch up with him and tackle him. And I was like, is anybody watching this game right now? I mean, that was an easy touchdown. He just like totally stopped for the defense to get tackled at the 33-yard line. Anyway, They're both from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Okay. And notice Washington, D.C., if you're new here, in Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words equals 56 when you run the alphabetic order forwards, 61 in reverse. Today is 56 days before Vontae Davis's upcoming birthday. 56 days, and it's 61 days after his brother's last birthday. And we talked about these numbers big time in January 6th. Again, the date can be written 6/1 when the thing went down in Washington, D.C. And it was exactly 56 months since Captain America Civil War had come out. And in Gematria, Civil War's 56. And the American Civil War began in the year 1861. And the Confederate flag went through D.C. that year. These numbers 56 and 61 also remind of other famous deaths in history in the month of April. Lincoln was assassinated at age 56 in April. Adolf Hitler supposedly committed suicide in April at age 56 at the end of the war. And what's funny is the same way Washington, D.C. equals 56 forward, 61 in reverse, Adolf Hitler equals 56 forward, 61 in reverse. And it's interesting because Adolf modeled the Jesuits, or excuse me, modeled the Nazis after the Jesuits, the Catholic Church's military. And again, the Catholic Church turned a blind eye to the Nazis. But Society of Jesus has the same gematria as 56, same way Washington, D.C. equals 56, and Jesus alone equals 61. And we know we're on the Jesuits calendar. We're speaking a language that's credited to the Catholic Church. And again, in the end of the 16th century, English standardized with 26 letters. And this calendar that we're on that says today's April Fool's Day, April 1st, given to us by the Catholic Church and the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius. So these numbers important to them. And remember, 61 is just a very special number because in sacred geometry, 61 represents the shape that represents God. And again, Jesus equals 61, cross 61, church 61, Christian 61, Christmas 61, special number. And then there's 56 male names in Matthew 1 through 11, the genealogy to Jesus, when Society of Jesus is 56. Okay. So you got to say right away, what are the odds that'd be so perfectly spaced out from the brothers who are from Washington, D.C.? And again, Vernon Davis played at Maryland. Maryland just had the big bridge collapse in the 56 ritual. They said the clearance for that bridge was 56 meters. They said 56 hazardous containers fell into the water. If you're new here, we talk about these same numbers being used in high ritual all the time. Now, him dying at 35, special number. Special number. First of all, their surname Davis equals 35. Christmas Day, 12/25, like 1225. The square root of 1225 is 35. It's the Catholic Church that celebrates the Son in the Sky's birthday that day, as well as the Son of God, Jesus' birthday that day. The Roman name for Jesus is Jesus, which equals 35. And, you know, football is associated with Sunday in the NFL, like the Catholic Church and worship of Jesus, the Son of God on Sunday. But Catholic equals 35. Also noteworthy, Satan equals 35. So does Baphomet, the symbol that's used for the Church of Satan. Football is 35, and so is Super Bowl. And of course, the Jesuit-founded Packers, where Vince Lombardi died unexpectedly at Jesuit Georgetown. They won the first Super Bowl with 35 points. So 35, big football number. We teach about it every week with 35 Thursday in the NFL. Thursday is the one day of the week that equals 35. Always huge 35 rituals in the NFL every Thursday. And now it's Davis, which equals 35, dead at 35. And in light of them, you know, remember yesterday we had the NFL ritual, Rashee Rice, 49 days after the Super Bowl ended. Dallas equals 49, where his incident was. Today's 50 days after the Super Bowl ended. Washington equals 50. Again, both of them from D.C. Washington alone, or Washington alone's 50. Washington, D.C., 56. If you run it the other way, Washington alone is 49 instead of 50. Today has 49 date numerology, as we just talked about with the bombing ritual in Damascus. Yeah, there's other things that are noteworthy here. Vernon Davis is 40 years old right now, meaning he's in his 41st year of life on this 4/1 April Fool's Day ritual. Notice he was born in 84, the infamous year. We know what just went down with the bridge. The bridge collapsed on the 84th birthday of Nancy Pelosi. It was synced up with the Salvador Dali painting. Dali took out the key bridge by the numbers. But Salvador Dali, dead at 84, the mayor of Baltimore, his birthday is the day of the eclipse, the 8th day of the 4th month. This whole ritual synced up with the Obama movie, what just went down in Baltimore with the bridge. Obama's movie that has the eclipse in it. Obama's birthday is August 4th, 8/4. The current governor of Maryland, is it Wes Moore? If that's not his last name, it might be slipping my mind. But from the day he took office to the collapse was 433 days later, the 84th prime. Now you got Vernon Davis, big NFL star, connected to Maryland, born in 84, brother dead days later, in a perfect ritual. And the big star from Maryland who's playing tonight for LSU. And think about it, the LSU coach for weeks now, she's been in the headlines having this battle with the Washington Post, right? Her and the Washington Post, she says the Washington Post are defaming her name, being inappropriate. So this is DC, right? But you got the basketball star for that team who's been I mean, you've been watching ESPN this past week. You might have seen more of her than anything else. Angel Reese. And now this comes 35 days before her upcoming birthday, May 6th. 35 days later, her birthday. And Vontae Davis at 35, she wears number 10. In Gematria, Satan equals 10 forwards, 35 in reverse, forwards and backwards. And again, Marilyn Manson back in 16, put out that song, You Say God. God also equals 10. God doesn't equal 35, though. Satan has the 10 and 35, but Marilyn Manson has the song, You Say God, and I say 10. And he spells it Ten like the number instead of Satan like how you normally spell Satan. You say God, and I say 10. And just again, if you need to see this in real time, if the visual helps, there's 4 base ciphers of the English language. The alphabetic order forwards, A is 1 up to Z is 26. The alphabetic order in reverse, Z is 1 back to A is 26. You see how Satan is 55 forwards, 10 with numerology applied, 80 in reverse, 35 in reverse with numerology applied. Notice how God's going to become 55 and 10, but just when you run it backwards. God's got the 55 and 10. And notice how Baphomet, the symbol that the Church of Satan uses, is 80 and 35. Again, like how Satan had that, but in reverse. Again, this is the secret code behind the English language that's used every single day in ritual just like this. And you don't need to ask, what these people are about when you just witness the repetitive patterns. Again, mockery of Bible verses, sacrificing, to their God. Anyway, R.I.P. to Vontae Davis. I'm sure if we dig even deeper, there's probably more to it. There's probably a lot more to it. There might be something about the upcoming NFL draft. I believe Vontae Davis played at Illinois. Is there any big stars coming out of Illinois? Pay attention to any Illinois player drafted to the NFL. You'll be able to connect the dots if they're there. But here, let me see if it shows when Vontae Davis played his last game. I forget how long he's been out of the NFL for now. They got a cousin. He's not currently in the NFL, is he? No, he only played 1 game, their cousin. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a third family member that was in the NFL. Vontae Davis went to Dunbar and Washington, D.C., did play at Illinois. Started his career with Miami in 2009. So he was drafted 15 years ago. Left Miami in 2011, 13 years ago. Joined Indianapolis, 201 land, 2012, 12 years ago. Last played 2018, 6 years ago. He appeared in 121 NFL games in the regular season, 6 in the playoffs for a total of 127 games. Okay. Um, it doesn't show on here the date of the last game they played. You could figure it out manually though, going to their game logs. It's all right. I'll save that part for later. But yeah, if you want to do a deeper dive and look more into, from his last game to his passing, we've seen it before where it makes the ritual even more clear. But yeah, R.I.P. to Vontae Davis, and then again, that's one man in a tragedy, and who knows how many tragedies there are in this story. Just another bombing ritual story. Yesterday, Easter Sunday, to remember the resurrection of Jesus in the Bible. Paul, aka Saul, is on the road to Damascus, one of the biggest critics of Jesus and his followers, and then he's converted to Christianity when he sees Jesus after his resurrection. He's got a big bright halo around him that blinds him. Anyway, the very next day, this happens, and look at this, Jeremiah 49. So Damascus is in three places in the Bible: Isaiah and Jeremiah in the Old Testament, and then Acts in the New Testament. And again, in Catholic Bibles, Acts is the 49th book of the Bible. But today's got 49 date numerology. Jeremiah 49 about Damascus, concerning Damascus. That's why if you just and that's the annoying thing too. It's like so many Christians who might actually recognize this parallel, they won't research this topic because they think knowing anything about numerology is evil. And again, that's where religious people bug me a lot of the time because I'm like, you see, these people just aren't very smart. Like, God would not care if you knew about something if the point of knowing about it was to stop something evil happening in the world. Again, everything is intent based. If you're learning this knowledge so that you can blood sacrifice somebody and gain more power and wealth in the world, that's evil. Learning about this to understand that there is a cabal that's manipulating us and lying to us and scaring us and taxing us and making us pay for these rituals, learning that with the intent to stop that from happening in the world, that's not a punishable offense by God. And your average Christian can't discern the two things. Anyway, a message about Damascus. Hamath and Arpad are dismayed, for they have heard bad news. They are disheartened, troubled like the restless sea. Damascus has become feeble. She has turned to flee, and panic has gripped her. Anguish and pain have seized her, pain like that of a woman in labor. Why has the city of renown not been abandoned, the town in which I delight? Surely her young men will fall in the streets. All her soldiers will be silenced in that day, declares the Lord Almighty. I will set fire to the walls of Damascus. It will consume the fortress of Ben Hadad. So, death, destruction, fire, news by the numbers, airstrike on Damascus on this day. 49 date numerology. April 1st, typically the 91st day of the year. Acts 9:1, like the 91st day, 9:1, beginning of the story of Paul or Saul's conversion. Okay, so while Israel's doing that, we're also having the biggest protest against Netanyahu by people within his own nation today. And notice, I want to write out Benjamin Netanyahu. I want you to see that his name is 177 forwards and 282 in reverse. Benjamin Netanyahu, 177 forwards, 282 in reverse. Today is 177 days after the war began on October 7th. And the war began 282 days after he returned to power. That October 7th was 282 days after December 29th, 2022, when he returned. Actually, before I get into this, I need to come back here and touch on something I almost forgot. Okay, hold on. We're coming back to the Palestine, or not Palestine, the Syria bombings. By the way, they're saying this airstrike today killed two of Iran's top military personnel. And one of those people was born on November 2nd in history. That's the day the Balfour Declaration was written in 1917 that declared, this future Zionist state to be created. Prior to World War II, they had plans to build the Zionist state, potentially in Palestine. They were debating the locations. They were looking from places from Ethiopia to Palestine. But anyhow, The word Zionist has the gematria of 112, like November 2nd can be written 11/2, the day that the Zionist state was planned. This man who's dead today, born on that day, but today's also April 1st, 4-1, like Zionist is also 41. Again, the Balfour Declaration. If you don't know about it, look it up. The Rothschild who was made out to died on his 201st day of his age, like State of Israel equals 201, like the Jesuit order. This past Saturday, there was a huge explosion in Syria at a very popular marketplace. And that was 201 days after Bashar al Assad's birthday. You know, he's got the September 11th birthday, the day in history that two towers, the Twin Towers, became zero and then eventually were re erected as one World Trade Center 201. Remember the Jesuit order. We just saw how Netanyahu's got the 177 forwards. So does the Jesuit order, but it's 201 in reverse, just like State of Israel's 201. And again, David Ben Gurion, who died, he died 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. Order of Illuminati's 201. Adam Weishaupt, who was a Jewish man who was Jesuit trained, died 201 days after the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. If you're new here, 201. Huge pattern with the Jesuits that we talk about all the time. And again, this big bombing in Syria before today's bombing, right after Easter, but before and after Easter, Syria, biblical land, getting the worst of it. And, you know, you look at what's right between Syria and Iran, it's that place that's, from the early 90s forward, it has just been a punching bag for the West. And you know what's sad is all these wars, every time these wars have escalated, the first thing that's happened is the museums that still remain have gotten raided and destroyed and things stolen. It's just, you see how it all works and how the cabal that makes the chaos in the news, and then how they use the chaos to do another exploit, steal history, destroy history, warp everyone's understanding of the world, make it so you just have to believe authorities because there's no real proof of anything anywhere. Anyhow, anyhow, yeah. So you got you got this Damascus joke going on, and then you got the protests. And this, it's not to say that the people who showed up there like aren't legitimately disgusted with Netanyahu and what he's doing in their name. Um, but the point I'm making is it's still high ritual. Whatever organization is that rallied all these people out to protest today, it's like they're part of it too. The people who rule, you got to control the opposition. That's also the other part of the quote. And they love pitting, different divisions of society against each other. It's just like when RFK Jr., who's Jesuit educated, Georgetown Prep, I liked almost everything he was saying in the time of the pandemic. He was standing up for what was right. He put out a good book about it. But then when he holds the rally against it, he does it on Georgetown's birthday as a Georgetown Prep grad. Out of the entire calendar year, he chooses the anniversary of Georgetown's establishment. And again, everything RFK Jr. is doing. A lot of people think he's the truth right now and he's what we need. Yeah, I agree. He's speaking way more truth than anybody else, but he's also doing everything in a major Jesuit ritual. It's like you got to control the opposition. And at the end of the day, RFK Jr. is not going to get in there because the elections are all rigged. And I think at the end of the day, it's just so that when voting day comes, they can put the little graphic down there that he's getting 0.01% of the vote. And everyone can feel like, oh my God, I felt like there was more support for him than that. Same thing they did with Ralph Nader in 2000. So, okay, and then this right here. Last survivors of the Tulsa race massacre, both 109, still want justice. Keep in mind, 109 is the 29th prime and black equals 29. I mean, this is the front page of CNN the morning of April Fool's Day. The only two people alive who remember the 1921 massacre firsthand, both 109 years old, are locked in a battle to get a reparations trial. It's like, come on, man. But yeah, here, look at this. Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is news on April 1st, right? 4-1. 4-1. And I mean, Tulsa, Oklahoma equals 41. Tulsa, Oklahoma is the exact same as Skull and Bones in all four ciphers for the record. And Skull and Bones, powerful secret society that put the 41st president in office, also put his son George W. Bush, born July 6th, 7/6, like how the Georgia Guidestones came down on his 76th birthday on 7/6, and his dad, number 41, was born on the day, leaving 202 days left in the year, and 149 is the 35th prime, and we already talked about where Vontae Davis fits in with that today. But, you know, this whole reparations thing, just a big trick, more divisiveness on society, is playing with people's hearts and minds, an ongoing sick joke. But the first woman's name that they put in the story, the first woman they talk about of the two is Viola Ford Fletcher. I just want you to see that her name has that 179. 179, which is the 41st prime. You can also see the 91, like today's typically the 91st day of the year. You know who else has the 179, who's front and center today with their big game? Angel Reese, which is also 91, like today's typically the 91st day of the year, like Acts 9:1, the story about the road to Damascus, Paul's conversion, people born for the world stage. Angel Reese, big in Maryland, Baltimore 41. What they just did with the Key Bridge. Key equals 41 like dream, the Salvador Dali painting, the broken bridge and the broken dream. But by the way, both women being 109 means they're both in their 110th year of life and they're seeking a reparations trial as the story. Reparations trial has that 110. And again, like I said, the 109 matters too because that's the 29th prime number and black is 29. Just jokes for days from these people. Um, one more time, this bridge ritual they just did in Oklahoma right after the Key Bridge. US 59 South is what was diverted. The reflection of 95. Baltimore equals 95. Oklahoma City had the 95 bombing at the federal building. And again, CNN, one of the first people they had on the day of the Key Bridge collapse was the lead investigator for Oklahoma City, explaining why it was an accident. And I pointed out that day in the videos. I said, isn't that so weird that they would bring him on? And where this thing just happened in Oklahoma was at the Robert Samuel Kerr Reservoir. And it just so happens that that guy was born in history September 11th. Timothy McVeigh put to death right before September 11th, right after the nation's first counterterrorism bill, a bill that came up obviously after the time of 9/11. And also, this man died on New Year's Day of 63. Again, the year JFK was assassinated, but also 63 going with Francis Scott Key dying at 63 and everything else we talked about that day with that number with the Key Bridge collapse. Again, the Key Bridge coming down was also foreshadowed in the Obama movie numerically. And again, Obama's new movie put out on Netflix at the end of the year about the grid going down. That movie, it first premiered October 25th in the world. Then it was released in some theaters November 22nd, the anniversary of the assassination of JFK in 63. And then it came out on Netflix on December 8th. 128, like bridge collapses 128, like the bridge came down at 128 in the morning, 128 days before Francis Scott Key's August 1st birthday anniversary. And it came down on the 128th day of Biden's age. And the other 128s that are in the Obama film, and what happened at Fern Hollow with Biden on January 28th, another 128, and so on and so forth. I also noticed that Robert S. Kerr, the way they referred to his name right here, Robert S. Kerr Reservoir, Robert S. Kerr equals 148 like Baltimore as well. Ritual. Things planned out long in advance. Look at Robert S. Kerr. He served as the 12th governor of Oklahoma from 43 to 47. The bridge just came down on the 47th birthday, essentially. On the actual 47th birthday of the bridge was March 23rd, the day the Orioles owner died. Maryland equals 47 like time. And the owner died on the 83rd day of the year after the Orioles last won the World Series in 83. Collapse equals 83. But yeah, then the bridge comes down. So, and this explains to you what really runs CNN and why one of the first people they had on was the Oklahoma City lead investigator when everyone knows that was a big cover up. A guy involved in cover up comes in to give us the talking points for another cover up and agenda. That's what I mean. There's so many of us and the people that are in on these agendas and that know the secrets and are there's so few of them. That's why if humanity would wake up and work together, this tyranny could be over in a day. There'd be new problems to solve, but the tyrant's got to go first. Okay, and then if you missed this, we covered this yesterday. Chance Perdomo dies in a car crash, but it's not known in any article where he died in this motorcycle accident. Dead at 27, the high ritual number. As we talked about yesterday, he was best known for his character in the Sabrina the Teenage Witch based story, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. The word witch equals 27, like broom. Again, if you're new here. And all four ciphers, witch and broom, are the same. Witch, broom. Identical in all four ciphers. Judge and gavel, the same way. But this guy's dead at 27 from the Sabrina the Teenage Witch show. And he died exactly 162 days after his birthday, just like the name of the show equals 162. And then he dies right at the start of baseball season, where you have a 162 game season. Remember, Major League Baseball is 162 forwards, baseball is 162 in reverse. And then his name is interesting because you have the year of the 120th World Series, and his name is 120. And again, a broom is a stick. Baseball bats are referred to as sticks. So it says in the show he tried to blow up the Vatican. He died on the Pope's 104th day of his age, Roman Catholic Church 104. Go figure. Let me just search his name real quick in case there's an update in the story, because literally when the news broke, the stories even stated that they didn't know where he died from a motorcycle accident, just that he was dead from a motorcycle accident per some unknown authorities. Let me see if an updated story says where he died. A handful of cast members from Amazon's Prime Video Gen V shared a joint statement on social media paying tribute to their late co-star Chance Perdomo, who died in a motorcycle accident at 27 years old. Perdomo was a series regular on The Boys spin-off series and played Andrew Anderson on its first season. It still doesn't say where he died. It still doesn't say where he died. Okay. And then Rashee Rice was the big news yesterday. Yesterday was the 91st day of the leap year. This happened in Dallas. He plays for the Chiefs, who just won the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs, when they first started, were called the Dallas Texans. This came 49 days after the Super Bowl, where Dallas is 49 the big way, 13 the small way, like 91's the 13th triangular. NFL and Super Bowl also equal 49. Of course, they beat the 49ers this year, the Chiefs. And then this happened on 42 date numerology, 42 days after Joe Montana's birthday, who played for the Chiefs and Niners. Again, the Chiefs just became 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year, winning their fourth when Rashee Rice, like Jerry Rice, wears number 4, and it was Mahomes' fourth Super Bowl appearance. So remember in this game right here from the AFC Championship on 128, kind of like the bridge collapse time, it was 58 days later, the bridge came down. Baltimore equals 58. 41 when you run it the other way, like Mahomes got his 41st road win in this game. But Baltimore also fell to 5-8 versus the Chiefs all time as the Chiefs went on to Super Bowl 58, where they won it. And again, they won, keeping Andy Reid on 58 losses with the Chiefs. And the opening playoff games of this year's playoffs were wild card games. It was first the Houston Texans, kind of like that old Dallas Texans team, winning their wild card game in a horribly officiated game that was so unfair and everybody saw it, where they beat the Browns thanks to the refs. The refs definitely got the game ball in that one because phantom pass interference calls were made against the Browns, and then the Texans just got it was just such a joke of a game. But anyway, Texans win, and then the Chiefs won as well, becoming 5-8. So this Chiefs-Texans ongoing theme. Now this ritual in Dallas by the appropriate perfect numerical code. Rashee Rice, 23 years old when Easter equals 23. That's why we liked Jokic for his 23rd career triple-double on Easter, which he got. Plus, it was 41 days after his birthday, and he's the 41st pick. And it was 15 Dayton numerology, like he's number 15. And Zach Edey, number 15, went off in college basketball that day. But anyway, you learn the number code, you see through the stories. You see through the rig games. You see through the rituals. You see through the needless war events. You see what's up with the death stories that make no sense. Here, let's read the latest on Vontae Davis. Before we close out of here, let's see what the latest is on Vontae Davis. Let's see. What's the most recent? AP 2 hours ago. We covered this in real time this morning on the Patreon. The first thing we spotted was just how it was 56 days from his birthday and 61 days from Vernon's. And we're like, oh my God, how perfect for the Washington, D.C. football stars. Former Miami Dolphins and Indianapolis Colts cornerback Vontae Davis was found dead in his South Florida home on Monday, but police say no foul play is suspected. Isn't it amazing how they always say that? It's like these stories never make any sense. Again, the Psychopaths had the band The Police do the song Murder by Numbers, where murder's a sport and it's gets more fun the more of it you do. Again, the band The Police put out the song Murder by Numbers, where killing's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3, and murder equals 83. So does football. Police in the Fort Lauderdale suburb of Davie said they responded to a medical emergency at Davis home Monday morning, but the 35-year-old was dead when officers arrived. No cause of death. Okay. Who made who made the call about the medical emergency? No cause of death has been released pending autopsy results. Police said in a statement the investigation is still active. Do you remember last year a former NFL player died at a young age? And they said he died because he had bad cavities? It's like, come on, man. Davis played for 10 seasons. Oh, snap. I almost missed that. Remember, we talked about that earlier with Angel Reese. How she's got the same geographic connection and wears number 10 and it's 35 days for her birthday. Again, he's dead at 35. Satan, 35-10. Satan's 55, which is the 10th triangular number and the 10th Fibonacci number. Davis also has that 55 connection, as well as 35. Almost missed the 10 seasons part. These websites, can't they just make it so you can click on it and just read it without all this stuff just jumping everywhere? Hold on. He was drafted 25th overall. 25 is another tragic number. Death's got that 25 connection, like times divided into quarters. We are heartbroken by the sudden passing of former Dolphins cornerback Vontae Davis and extend our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones during this difficult time, wrote the Dolphins. Remember, Indianapolis is the only 201 city in America. Elgin Baylor the other year died at 86th. Then Baylor won the championship there with 86 points, beating the other Jesuit school from Washington State when Elgin Baylor went to Seattle U. From Elgin Baylor's last birthday to the championship that Baylor won was 201 days later. The Jesuit Order's 201. Jesuits is 86. 3 years in a row on March 22nd. You got former Jesuit stars dead in the news on March 22nd. Next year was Delnardo Webster for the St. Peter's Peacocks. After they went on their big run that ended on Peacock Day, or their last win came on Peacock Day. And then it was Silas, who played at Creighton the year that Creighton was the last surviving Jesuit team. And I suppose this year they were too, because all three of the Jesuit schools got eliminated on Good Friday. Creighton was the last, getting beat by Tennessee. Well, absolutely no explanation for how a 35-year-old athlete's dead. Just the police said nothing foul, nothing suspicious. Remember, Jesuit equals 21, going with his number 21 jersey. Catholic equals 35. Society of Jesus equals 56, going with 56 days for his birthday. And again, Washington, D.C., Jesuit stronghold is home. 56 forwards, 61 in reverse, like it's 61 days after Vernon Davis' birthday. Let me see if I can pull something up real quick. See if I can pull up this old post on Vernon Davis acting a fool on the football field, giving away that it's scripted. If anybody, that's the fans are always drunk too. If not so many fans were drunk, they just see through the scripts. I got this old post on Vernon Davis going to the Broncos just before the 40. Remember this? Remember this is before this was all part of the pre-research too for how I ended up calling that Broncos over Panthers Super Bowl in week 3 with Von Miller's the MVP, just documenting these little things. Vernon Davis, getting traded. Vernon Davis, grandfather, Linwood Smith, dead September 7th. Death has the gematria of 97. Society of Jesus has the gematria of 79. Here, the brother's dead in a 56 ritual. But look, when you run it in reverse, Society of Jesus is 79. Society of Jesus is 56 and 187, just like Washington, D.C. is. Same ciphers. Adolf Hitler's 56 and 187 like that, too. He died at age 56 in April. His grandpa died 21 weeks. Jesuit, 21. Vernon Davis was 35 at the time. Now his brother's dead at 35. That's why you just go back and look at my old posts compared to today. I mean, you'll just see like the parallels. Now the same stuff keeps happening. Linwood Smith, 147, dead 147 days from Vernon Davis' birthday. 97, death 97. Murder 79, like O.J. Simpson's birthday is July 9th, can be written 7997, associated with murder. That 219, see, there's an older post, so there's like certain things that hadn't really sunk in yet, or I forgot to post them, but it stands out now. You see how Roman Catholic is 132 forwards, 219 in reverse like this? Do you remember Antonin Scalia, the Supreme Court justice who was found dead on the ranch on the 44th day of the year? See how his name is 132 and 219? He was the first Roman Catholic Supreme Court justice. He died on 13/2 unexpectedly, and his body lay in repose at the Supreme Court on February 19th, 219. Again, and Vernon Davis was 35 at the time, Catholic 35, when his grandpa died in a perfect ritual. I might keep scrolling back to see what else I got on Vernon Davis on here. Vontae Davis. Oh, I got his retirement on here. He retired at halftime on his 113th day of being 30 years old. I forgot this. 113 is the 30th prime. Scottish is 113. Again, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is credited with American football. The rites of the Scottish Rite were written by Jesuit priests. Week 2. Yeah, he had a weird retirement, and now he has an even weirder death. Hmm. I guess I didn't either that or some of my posts have been deleted, but the could have sworn I had an old documentation of Vernon Davis acting a fool. I could some things I just did videos on, like showing the clip or just recording it off the TV and then never made a post about it. It's probably where it was, probably on an old channel that got deleted. But I remember making a big old deal about that. Vernon Davis so obviously having to get down on a certain hash mark on the field for the ritual. There's this play back in the day where he's on a breakaway. There was no defenders in front of him. And he just kept looking backwards and slowing up and slowing up and slowing up. And then they like tackle him on the 33-yard line on, I think it was on Monday Night Football when MNF always has 33 rituals. I was like seriously, how obvious is that? What football players trained to look backwards and slow down when the end zone's in front of them? It was like one of the most obvious scripted plays of all time. And I'll always remember when Vernon Davis was laughing his ass off on the sideline as the camera went to him as the 49ers coughed up the Super Bowl against the Giants. That was the year that Super Bowl 46 year, the year Eli beat Brady for the second time in the script. The only reason the Giants beat the Niners is because the son of the former baseball player who's a punt returner for the Niners had 4 fumbles in one game. Harbaugh was the coach that's like, why don't you get a different guy back there, Harbaugh? Don't you think 3 fumbles was enough? Now we got a 4th one. 4th fumble from the kickoff returner. You didn't take him out of the game? And then they go cut to Vernon Davis, who's just laughing his ass off on the sideline. It's like, see, these guys don't give a shit. I mean, he's not from San Francisco. Yeah, he might play for the 49ers. He's from Washington, D.C. So that's the cost, though, to sell out stadiums of football fans every week and get paid all this money and get everything that comes with the fame. You got to give up your brother when he's only 35. And then, sadly, Vernon might live another 21 years. Sadly, that's how it'll probably be. 21 years from now, you'll be reading about Vernon Davis at age 56. Probably be on the anniversary of his brother's death. Or maybe Grandpa Linwood. All right. Let me put my eyes on the chat. Does anyone have any information to share that I'm missing? Any big news stories? April Fool's stuff day? April Fool's stuff? April Fool's Day stuff I overlooked. Let's see what they got on the front page of the major U.S. news sources right now. U.S. is set to approve its largest military sale to Israel since war with Hamas began. I mean, on April Fool's Day, you guys. USA equals 41. 41 is the 13th prime number. 13 stripes. 13 colonies. 13 years of school, K to 12. You never learn about the little simple code of letters behind the numbers. Or numbers behind the letters, I should say. USA 41 like Zionist. And again, what is Zionism? Zionism is the support of the existence of Israel. So, by definition, obviously, the U.S. is a Zionist nation. I want to see what this sale is. White House is set to approve largest foreign military sale to Israel since October 7th. Remember, today's 177 days later. The Jesuit order, 177. The Biden administration is close to approving the sale of as many as 50 American-made F-15 fighter jets to Israel. America and Washington both equal 50. In a deal expected to be worth, Jesuits, the plural, is also is equal to 50. In a deal expected to be worth more than 18 billion. Remember, in Judaism, 18 represents the meaning of life. That's why when you have your bar mitzvah, you get denominations of money that are divisible by 18. You might get $72. For super rich, you might get $7,200. You might get $144,000. According to 3 people familiar with the matter, the transaction would amount to the largest U.S. foreign military sale to Israel since the country went to war with Hamas on October 7th. Meanwhile, Iran accused Israel of killing 2 senior commanders in a strike on its consulate in Damascus, Syria. Again, the day after Easter, when Jesus' resurrection on the road to Damascus, Saul, a.k.a. Paul, gets converted to Christianity after interacting with the glowing, resurrected Jesus. He says, "Why do you persecute me?" Which is probably where the joke of the show Better Call Saul comes from. Tehran promised a decisive response to the strike. The attack may be the most dangerous escalation outside of Gaza since the start of the Hamas-Israel war nearly 6 months ago. And I want you to think about how just they're playing with people, right? They're having this huge protest today against Netanyahu. Now this major escalation happens. The people who are at that protest, it just gets even more polarizing because there's people who are in Israel who really aren't happy with that protest, just like in the U.S. There are people who couldn't stand, well, there's always people who can't stand one side of the political aisle, right? But like right now, we have the most polarizing guy ever, Donald Trump. He's a love him or hate him type of guy. It's the same type of thing over there with Netanyahu. And a ritual like this going down, it's just, again, just those big time special numbers, extra mockery on a day like this, the Damascus joke. Israel did not comment on the strike, but Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces, disputed that the building was a consulate. According to our intelligence, this is no consulate and this is no embassy, he said. This is military building of Quds forces disguised as a civilian building in Damascus. Disguised as a civilian building. Something tells me that's what they just blew up, a civilian building for the ritual of it. But our intelligence said it was actually not that. And then another, I mean, how many times has there been a story like this in the last 20 some years? And they talk about how many people died at a school, how many children were blown to pieces. It was actually just a wedding, you know. And had you looked, you would have seen each time it was like some kind of sick, twisted, evil Bible ritual. Like, anyway, that's the problem. Nobody's looking into anything. There's a new movie on Netflix to watch. I don't have time for this research. I got a 10-part series that just came out I really want to see. My favorite team's back on. You know, I'm watching the ladies tournament tonight. I've never been so much into the ladies tournament. Yeah, you could also say it is the 178th day of the war or 177 days after it began. Either way is true. Kabbalah's 178. The Cleveland Guardians started the year 3-1. The ladies championships in Cleveland. Yeah, we're covering baseball on Patreon. This comment right here about Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out in 2025. Yeah, it's just that's what I mean. Like, if I was doing a live stream on some video game update right now or something like that, we'd have way more people watching. I mean, that's the world we're in right now. If I was doing a live stream about my hype for Grand Theft Auto 6, we'd have at least 10 times the viewership. So, yeah, I mean, that's why we are definitely in challenging times. People are just all they care about is entertainment, and truth of what's going on in this world. People just don't care about it, but they really should. Again, another huge bill was just racked up for the American taxpayer. Today's news is going to be more bills for the American taxpayer, more debt to pay with interest on top to the central bankers. Anyhow, we can leave it there, True Seeker. Thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And let me just. Oh, by the way, if you guys didn't know, Easter Bunny has the same gematria as Jesuit order. This whole thing about Biden doing mentioning the transgender day for Easter, and then the religious people being outraged about overshadowing Easter with transgender. Again, the deeper joke is Kabbalah, because in Kabbalah, God is male and female. God is male and female. And I'm not saying Kabbalah is satanic, but just think about the parallel with the Church of Satan, right? Because their symbol is Baphomet, which is male and female. And again, God and Satan have the gematria overlap. And remember, 201's all over the Jesuits as well as this nation's history, because the Jesuits been here since the beginning. But the Church of Satan has 201 all over it too, because Anton LaVey died 201 days after his birthday, the founder, and he died 201 days before the Pope's birthday. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is who's really giving out the commands to make these things align and the conflicts exist. And realize the reason the conflict can even happen is because people have bought into different parts of the cultural programming. Like the younger liberal generation has really embraced the transgender thing, whereas the more established religious conservatives are super opposed to it. And then you have households like my sister's in Portland, where my sister's all about Easter and all about transgender. And then, I mean, they just have society in all these different segments, but let's just check. I honestly have not decoded this the whole time. This trans day of visibility. I just want to see what's even behind it. But yeah, that was the big controversy in America over the weekend. At the like, it's just everything is just here for the division. Trans Day of Visibility. Well, one thing that jumps out is how 128 was just everywhere in the news this past week. 128 was everywhere. Again, the bridge collapse was all about 128. The broken bridge in the dream. The name of that painting is 128, the Salvador Dali painting that synced up with the ritual. Again, that painting came out 79 years before the collapse, and Francis Scott Key died in 1779, but you can see how bridge collapses 128 and 79. So, yeah, I find it funny that the 128s and the Trans Day of Visibility, 281's the 60th prime. We got the upcoming 60th presidential election. Again, in 1860, Lincoln was elected and killed. 1960, JFK elected and killed. 60, fateful number. We know what happened to Trump's ex-wife 60 weeks into the Jesuit Nation year. 97 is the 25th prime. Biden is 25, so is Trump. 97 and 25 are numbers of death. Again, trying to bring the nation to a fever pitch. I mean, that could end up being the story. It could be the story, who knows? They could do it on November 22nd, the anniversary of the JFK assassination. They could do it a lot sooner. They could do it on the anniversary of MLK shooting. They could do it on June 5th, the anniversary of RFK's assassination. The way they do things on anniversaries and get away with it, I mean, it's just like, how don't people see through this? But that could be the story. Some person hated Biden for Trans Day of Visibility on Easter. They just found it so disgusting, so they had to shoot him. I mean, that could be a story they give us in the future. Could be the other guy, the overgrown orange one. Trans Day of Visibility. That 259 is another Catholic church number. I'm not even going to get into it. Of course, Easter's very Catholic. Tory spelling divorce. Everyone's so caught up in all the celebrity gossip. Why Diddy's playbook won't work with the feds. 3 young girls charged in fatal beating a 64-year-old man caught on video. Come on. Life-threatening invasive bacterial infection. CDC sounds the alarm. I mean, just everything, all day, every day. Just divisive propaganda, fear porn. You just decode each story. You just see how it's just all by the numbers. Just like a matrix of contrived information to keep you in the low vibration they want you in. Whoopi Goldberg hammers question about voters being better off 4 years ago. Tell you what, we just get worse off every 4 years that move forward under this criminal cartel where there's always more debt and more interest to pay off. And again, when you think about it from that perspective, that more and more as time goes on of our wealth has to go to paying interest on debt, no wonder we get less of a return on everything else. Before X percent of your tax money was actually going towards something that maybe helped out the nation a little bit. Now just more and more just going to pay for the bills from decades past. It's just, and new bills. The way I bet a lot of people I bet the sheep last week saw the way Truth Social stock just skyrocketed on the opening day in the big ritual. Oh, I'm going to ride the Trump train to the top. Probably bought high and just lost everything as the stock tumbles down. Total panic. People should look into the admitted use of weather warfare to find out what's going on really with some of this extreme weather in the world. Okay. Yeah, I think those are all the big headlines. So, again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. If you would like to support the work, great ways to do it are in the description. Shout out to the people who've sent. I've gotten 3 items in the P.O. box. Very nice. Somebody sent a nice coffee mug and a coaster for Sweet Lady. That was very nice with a nice letter as well. Thank you. All right, we will leave it there though for now, True Seeker. R.I.P. to Vontae Davis, and hopefully this year we'll have a record minimum of stories like this. Maybe this year this can be the only one they need instead of the typical, seemingly near 100 every single year. So Vontae Davis is the only one for 2024. And it'd be the last one if the world would wake up today. If the NFL realized they had to stop doing this, the people that run these leagues, because the world had caught on to them, they would stop. They continue to do it because nobody blinks an eye. No one stops coming to the stadiums. No one questions anything. No one calls the police station and say, "How do you guys have a statement out so fast about there's nothing suspicious?" What do you mean nothing suspicious about a 35-year-old athlete being dead? This happens way too much. Yeah, if you're new here, look up the song Police Murder by Numbers. Read the lyrics to that song from 1983, because again, murder's 83. Hold on. You guys are saying, did I see what CERN's doing the day of the eclipse? Let me see. I didn't know CERN had a ritual for the day of the eclipse. CERN, who gave us the internet, huh? Here we go. Daily Mail. They always got it. Let's see what they said. CERN to test world's most powerful particle accelerator during April solar eclipse to search for invisible matter that secretly powers our universe. The world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator is set to smash protons together on April 8th to search for invisible particles secretly powering our universe. You guys remember how in the Da Vinci Code series, how in one of them CERN's part of the plot? Da Vinci Code about the Illuminati and the church. April 8th can be written 4-8, Illuminati equals 48. Run it the other way, the day can be 8-4, Jesuits 84, the Jesuit Order's 84, the Catholic Church is 84, Superior General's 84, the leader of the Jesuits, first Jesuit Pope's born on 84 date numerology. All the 84s that just went down in Catholic Baltimore with the Key Bridge. That's also the mayor of Baltimore's birthday. It's the day of the Final Four. But yeah, it just makes me think of that because CERN's part of that plot. And don't forget Dan Brown, who wrote that book. He turned 56 the year of 2020, the year where everything was 56, the year of the pandemic, put on by the Jesuits. And again, it was the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt in history who created the Illuminati. 17-mile long tunnel. That's right. Let's see. First went live September 10th, 2008. This accelerator at CERN. CERN's older than that, but this accelerator thing that they're using. So that means this year it'll turn 16 years old later this year. It's 15 years old and change right now. And again, when you add 1 through 15 together, it equals 120, like how the Illuminati was founded on the first day of the 5th month. And Illuminati does equal 120 the big way, 48 when you use numerology. September 10th is the day, leaving 112 days left in the year. April 8th this year is the 99th day of the leap year. So what is that? 112 plus 90s 202 plus 9 more is 211. So it's 211 days from the September 10th anniversary, which is the 47th prime. 47 is the 15th prime. So it's 15 years and 211 days. France has that 47 connection in light of it being in France and Switzerland. Yeah, again, just a reminder about just the ritualism of things in the world that they have to do it that day. I'm sure there's a lot more to it that I'm overlooking right now. Let me close some windows here and just remind myself about CERN. I know CERN is 40 in the most simple cipher. It's 22 the small way. Let's see. In reverse. In reverse, it's got that old infamous 68. I'll do some more research on what all makes sense about them doing that the day of the eclipse. But yeah, I appreciate the heads up. I didn't realize that that was even happening on the day of the eclipse. God particle 56, go figure. Yeah, that's what they're after in the film, right? The God particle. Purdue's got the big NASA connection in the Final Four. Again, Purdue just got their 48th tournament win all time to advance to the Final Four in the 48th state with the championship on 4A. And Purdue's outscored their opponents by 85 points in the tournament. Again, Purdue's 85. Purdue University is also 85, like Phoenix, Arizona, who's hosting the 85th tournament. Most famous NASA astronaut went to Purdue. Armstrong, born on 8/5. Yeah, CERN definitely has the Shiva statue, right? We talked about March Madness today on Patreon, so feel free to join if you want that information. Time to sign up right now. Watch the stream before the game starts. Put it on playback speed 1.5, zip through it. Again, thank you to the people who support the work and not the people who ask for stuff that they know we cover every day on Patreon at a very low rate. Could have had a smashing day again yesterday in the world of sports. Nearly perfect. Missed one NBA game out of all those games yesterday. Only one hockey game to choose from. It was a smash. Perfect in the tournament. And baseball. Baseball was a mixed bag though yesterday. But another great day. Support the Patreon. It literally does pay to support the Patreon if you're into sports and asking questions like Zay Mula. Um, yeah, who knows what they're going to do on the eclipse? Hopefully nothing. Hopefully it passes by without incident. But you know, as long as the psychopaths are in control, you just never know. But we do know the one thing we do know is they do pull off rituals that can inconvenience people on large scales. You know, a great example will forever be New York City on September 11th, and you know what just happened in Damascus as soon as today. But you never know when it's going to be your city next. So as long as the tyrants are in power, an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of cure. If they do take down the power grid in your neck of the woods, you better not get caught with your pants down. If you watch this channel, I've been telling you for a long time, just make sure you have water, non-perishable food, first aid, flashlights, candles, things that could be very helpful if the power went out. You want to make sure you have water and non-perishable food. That would be crucial. Am I going to talk about the LSU game? Well, I talked about the connection to Angel Reese to Vontae Davis's death. I talked about the LSU game on the old Patreon today. So, like I was just saying, support the Patreon. That's where we talk about sports. Prediction for Masters. Again, you guys join the Patreon. 5 out of the last 6 Masters we've hit before the tournament began. We'll see if we can do it again this year. So, all right, you guys, we will leave it there. And until next time.